evening. Good evening. That's what I'm trying to do with you guys. Hey, welcome everyone. Quick safety announcement. Behind me and the way you came in are the emergency exits, okay? I want you to have a great time, be safe, and you're in for a treat.
The world is narrow. The world is constricted. We stand on ceremony. We stand behind borders. We hide behind walls. We cut ourselves off to the possibility of spirit. The world is expansive. The world is wide. As we open the possibility of taking down walls, taking down barriers, feeling connected, feeling enlivened. What would it look like if you took down the borders and the walls of your sweet and precious soul?
my word, my word, my word.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If you, in the words of other languages, other peoples, as we are a cross-border people, I also say to you, Good Shabbos. And I also say to you, Buen Shabbat. I'm named after an immigrant. You know me as Rabbi Mike, but my Jewish name is Rachmiel. The immigrant I'm named after is my great aunt Rachel, Aunt Rose. She was an immigrant garment worker, like her sister Ruth, and that's my grandmother, and their brothers and sisters who toiled every day to put clothing on the backs of Americans. It was not fun work. And so why do people do this? Why do people leave behind everything they know for a life of toil in a strange land? They do it because this country holds out a promise of a paycheck, promise of freedom from Jew haters in Europe, the promise of a new home. This new home, this new country had a statue in a harbor with a poem on it, written by a Jew, welcoming immigrants. It was called the New Colossus. And these amazing people behind me are going to sing it in a few minutes. For my family, maybe for your family, this land rang a loud and clear bell for freedom, for liberty. And I'm not talking about a symbolic bell. I'm talking a real bell. It was called the Liberty Bell. It even had a quote from Torah on it. Ukratem dror ba'aretz l'chol yoshveha. Proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants within it. What is this drawer, this call for liberty that we celebrate tonight? So beautiful that it's cast into the metal of an old bell. Well, liberty means a lot of things to a lot of people. Maybe liberty to make as much money as you can in as short amount of time as possible. Or freedom from excess regulation. But the Jewish definition of liberty that we celebrate tonight, the definition of this Hebrew word drawer is specific. In the Talmud, Rabbi Yehuda says drawer refers to a person who can midayer, a person who can live anywhere they want and do their business in the whole country. Freedom of movement. Of course, that would be the Jewish definition of liberty. The immigrant experience, part of the Jewish DNA. And on Refugee Shabbat, on Immigration Shabbat, we remember that Jews know in our guts what it means to be on the move or on the run, to search, to scrimp, to scrap, to start over, to march off the edge of the map and come up on the other side. It is, by the way, in our very name. The Hebrew word for Hebrew is ivri. It literally means boundary crosser, border crosser. Foundational story of our people is an immigrant story, the Exodus from Egypt, and when we read it with an immigrant consciousness, we see that it's all there. An immigrant group, perhaps the first guest workers in recorded history, oppressed and underpaid and vilified, forced to labor under the most brutal of conditions, despised immigrants who prevail over Pharaoh. Tonight is Shabbat Shirah, Shabbat of liberation, Shabbat of song. Tonight, we part the waters of despair and apathy. Tonight, next to ragtag slaves left for dead, we march into a world of freedom. And so tonight, we invite you, get free with us, and march with us, and sing with us. first, we need to light some candles. And so all the people who know this story in their heart because they live it, the people who stand with refugees, I invite you to rise. And the way that you bring light into the world of the people you serve every day, I invite you to bring some light for us too. Yeah? I got one. All right. Who else is working with refugees and immigrants? Certainly one. They got two. I'm going to invite you to come on up. And don't be shy because this world needs light. So we need you to step up and give it and shine it. And I'm going to invite, as those folks assemble here, I'm going to invite everybody to rise in body or spirit. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Look. All right. Who do we trust with fire? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And rather than keep the borders of our hearts closed, don't you light that light. Don't get that light. Yeah. Yeah, look at you. You're an expert. And rather than let the borders, go ahead, of our hearts be closed and ourselves feel shut off, I invite you to be big and to be open and even feel a little vulnerable. So I invite you to put your hands up in the air and maybe open yourselves, maybe stretch out in a way that you haven't all day or maybe in a week. And I'm going to invite you to feel the beauty and look around and see the hands and see the faces and see the Spirit. As we bring, yeah, you can wave. Look at Kim. Yeah, you wave some love back to, look at this. Yeah. And I'm going to invite you to stretch out your fingers as far as they can and touch the infinite and bring it in. Once and twice and 3 times. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen to that. And as you open your eyes, you might see the world in a new light. I invite you to give a Shabbat hug or receive a Shabbat hug for anyone who consents to having a Shabbat hug. May I? Good job. May I? Buen Shabbat. Friends, I promised New Colossus. I promised words on Lady Liberty, and I don't want to let you down, so I'm going to invite you to take a seat and settle in and let it enter your heart.
Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Will Robertson.
Woo!
And I am the chorus director of Congregation Beit Haverim. On behalf of Rabbi Mike Rothbaum and myself, I want to welcome you to this Shabbat Shirah and Refugee Shabbat, Lift Our Lamps. I hope you enjoyed Irving Berlin's setting of those beautiful words. And I'm especially excited about the next piece that we're going to offer. Several years ago, our music director, Gayan Garin, our former music director, Gayan Garin, had the brilliant idea of combining the Ladino lament, Quienes Aqueo en la Mañana, with the spiritual song, Wayfaring Stranger, to show musical and thematic connection between these songs and between these communities and peoples. And we recorded this version a few years ago, and you can find it on our Threshing Floor album. Now, when Rabbi Mike and I were preparing for this service and thinking about songs about refugees in this theme, he mentioned to me that his husband, incredible performer, arranger, composer, Anthony Russell, had put together a mashup of two folk songs, the Yiddish song Maiko Mashmalan with, guess what, Wayfaring Stranger. We couldn't pass up this opportunity to ask Anthony to bring this mashup to you tonight, and we are so honored to have him with us to share his voice and bring us the story of these songs.
An adolescent is looking out of a rainy window into a poverty-stricken ghetto, wondering what is the meaning of it all. What is the meaning of heaven, of the world to come, if life in this world is so miserable? Exactly when is this happening? You tell me. The poverty hasn't gone anywhere. The adolescent is still asking these questions in 1,000 different windows, in 1,000 different ghettos, in 1,000 different languages, to 1,000 different melodies.
Maiko Mashmalan der Regen, wolkenlos, der mir zu Herrn, seine Drovens hoffen die Scheiben, geugeln sich wie drüber I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, a traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness, toil, no danger in that bright land to which I go. Maiko Mashmalan, mein Leben, wolkenlos der mir zu Herrn, von Welken in der Jugend war die Zeit veraltet werden, Essen, Dämon, Schwingen, Blären, schlafen auf dem Bank, dem Hagen. Just a poor wayfaring stranger. traveling through this world of woe, but there's no sickness, toil, no danger in that bright land to which I go. Deuten don die Eulem Hase auf Eulem Habewan.
Min hametzar karati ya. From the midst of the narrow places, I called out to God, and God answered me with a wide expanse. Merchav ya, ya answered me. Meitzar, you might know Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, which is where we escape from, which is where we always escape from. Anytime we remember that we're not born for bondage. You might know the Yiddish word, tsuris, yeah? Tsar, sur, min hametzar, Mitzrayim. We open our eyes, we open our hearts to the possibility of being free, to the possibility of every beautiful, limitless soul being free.
Hametzar karatia anani vamerchavia amin. Hametzar karatia anani vamerchavia min hametzar karatia anani vamerchavia amin. Hametzar karatia anani vamerchavia Adonai li lo ira ma yaseh li adam Adonai li lo ira o ma yaseh li adam Adonai li lo ira ma yaseh li adam Adonai li lo ira o ma yaseh li adam
L'chadodi. Come, my friend. It's Shabbat. We make a run for it. We remind each other we don't have to be stuck. L'chadodi, come, my friend, my beloved. Sometimes we call across borders. Sometimes we call within. Jews have been everywhere. This spirit can be everywhere. I'm going to invite you to turn in your Siddur and your prayer book to page 40 and 41. We are going to sing verses 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9, which will be the top of each page in the Hebrew. Those are the odd-numbered pages, and the transliteration is going to be right underneath it.
And just after L'chadodi, we will take you directly across land and sea with a song called Yoducha Rayonai, which is sung to a folk tune that has traveled through many countries in Europe and Western Asia, Turkey, Bulgaria, Albania, and even Scotland. There's also a Sephardi love song on the same melody, and a klezmer version of this tune was recorded in the US in 1924. It seems music, like the Jewish people, travels across great distances to find new homes and hearts. And I'll just say, if you are someone who dances, who moves to music, this may be a good time for you to show yourselves. So, as Rabbi Audrey, Joy, as Rabbi Mike just said, we will start on page 41.
Shabbat, lechuvenel hakim kor haberach hamerosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh v'mashvat tefila echadoni v'ikra kahala v'nei Shabbat v'gamela echadoni v'ikra kahala v'nei Shabbat v'gamela Gitorari Adonai, Kariti al Yadish, Ben Parti, ונגילה לך אדוני ויקרא קהלה בני שבת נקבלה לך אדוני ויקרא קהלה בני שבת נקבלה. We're gonna face the door. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה גם בשמחה ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה we bow בואי חלה. Kahala, Bene Shabbat, Kabela, So, if you ask Alexa, their names are Sun Moon P, but that's not their names. First of all, their names are Michael and Bonnie Levine, and they are two halves of a fantastic duo called Sun Moon Pie. Yes. Who celebrate alternative Jewish melodies and meditative chants and make people of all ages thrilled. Don't give me that face, it's true. You thrill people.
That's your intro for Hatzi Kaddish?
That's my intro for you. Getting to Hatzi Kaddish. Wow. They are going to, because a certain person whose name rhymes with never get your fill, is going to take a little sabbatical, and these folks are going to help me take over the music duties for a little bit with some other amazing folks. And without further, because Bonnie's giving me the look like just get on with it. So without further ado then, I'm going to invite us to go into Mariv, into the evening prayers of our service. Turn to page 55 as we rise in body or spirit. Hatzi Kaddish is going to lead right into the Baruch Hu, and then our celebration of nature, Mariv Ravim. Amen. B'chayeton yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael b'gala uv'mizman karim. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach Olam me'almaya
Shemere Kurasha.
Norihu.
Yelam in Kol Birchata B'Shirata.
Tushbechata nechamata da'amiran yalma. Amen. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach.
Everyone. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Please be seated.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Umavilion Umevilaila Umavilion Umevilaila Umavilion Ume of the day and night, who rolls back light before the dark, dark before the light, who makes day pass and brings on night, leader of the throngs of heaven, living and enduring God. Blessed are you, Almighty One, who makes the evenings fall.
Your words bring the evenings on, until night rolls into dawn. Your words bring the evenings on, until night rolls into dawn. Your words bring the evenings on, until night rolls into dawn.
Y'all. What soul-filling and soul-restoring music. Thank you. We turn now to Ahavat Olam, a prayer focused on the unending love that surrounds all of us and that carries us through times of hardship, grief, and suffering. In Rabbi Rami Shapiro's poem, Unending Love, he writes that we are embraced by arms that find us when we are hidden. We're counseled by voices that guide us even when we are bitter. And we're supported by hands that uplift us in the middle of falling. And that those arms, those voices, and those hands are all ours. We lift ourselves up, each of us and all of us. And I'd like to lift up my favorite Jewish vocal trio. See how I did that? Shana Cohen, Ariella Friedman, and Amy Robertson, the Mamalas. Watching them lift each other up and lift up the communities they sing to has been so inspiring. And we listened to them offer Ahavat Olam tonight, which they just recorded a couple of months ago. And after Ahavat Olam, they'll lead us directly into Shema, which you can find on page 65.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Aken Adonai Eloheinu, V'shochveinu uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach When we lie down, when we rise up, this joy will last forever. When we lie down, when we rise up, this joy will last forever, forever. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Li'ahavatecha, lo tasur mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Israel.
Please join us for the Shema.
Shema, Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu,
It's just exciting. I get to be the rabbi of this. This is really cool. Amazing. It's gonna get even better, y'all. Can I just say? Because we've got a special, just an incredible special blessing for Via Hafta. There's this friend up here, yeah? Right in front of me. A blues singer, a jazz singer, a gospel singer, a soloist at a little storefront church called Ebenezer Baptist. Yeah, one of the favorite soloists of a guy named Reverend Raphael Gamaliel Warnock. Yeah? Yeah, senator. It's the first time I think a senator has ever gotten applause in a synagogue. Yeah. But that's not who's here. Melvin Miles is here. And he is, he sung the national anthem at Reverend Warnock's campaign stops. He is part of Lapidus and Miles, an inter-religious Jewish and Christian singing duo. And if anyone was going to bring the love, right? Because it says, V'ahavta Adonai Elohecha, you should love the Lord with all your heart and all your soul and all of your being. It will be you, Melvin. So thank you. If you want to follow some of our words, you're going to find this also on page 65. I'm going to add in the middle some English words, though, from Aurora Levens Morales.
Your God, you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all with all your might. You shall love your God. Set these words, oh, these words, these sweet, precious words, set them on your heart. Set these words, oh, these words, these sweet, precious words, set them on your heart. You shall love, you shall love, you shall love your God.
Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders. Teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep. Here in the cruel shadow of empire, another world is possible. Imagine winning. This is your sacred task. Lean with all your being toward that day when the poor of the world shake down a rain of good fortune out of the heavy clouds, and justice rolls down like waters.
Set these words, oh, these words, these sweet, sacred words, set them on your heart. Set these words, oh, these words, these sweet, sacred words, set them on your heart. You shall love, you shall love, you shall love your God.
We're not going to have a whole big regular sermon later, because that would be silly, because you didn't really come here to hear me talk. But I do want to say a few words about the song that we're going to sing in a few minutes that Shabbat Shirah is named for. This is Shirat Hayam, the song at the sea. That's Mi Chamocha. You might not know all the words, but it's been the animating song of our people, a boisterous burst of joy that reminds us that the way the world is right now is not the way that it has to be. That we get free when we stand together and we march together.
It's why sometimes Jewish representatives will take to the House floor and speak in defense of our immigrant neighbors. Like the Jewish congressman from New York who rightly reminded opponents of immigration that if they had their way and we awoke one fine morning and found all our population of foreign origin had departed, there would be no rolls for breakfast, no sugar for the coffee, no meat for dinner. For practically all workers in food service are immigrants. But the Jewish congressman who sang that particular song is not currently in the House. He didn't offer his remarks this year or last year. His name is Emanuel Seller, and he made those remarks over 90 years ago. And the reason Seller took to the floor of the House was because of the legislation then before the United States House of Representatives that would become known as the Johnson-Reed Act of 1924. It imposed a strict immigration quota system that kept the door wide open to immigrants from Western Europe and Northern Europe, but severely limited immigration from Eastern Europe and all but eliminated immigration from Asia and Africa. Which meant that in the years between 1933 and 1945, which might ring a bell in your mind, because European Jews desperately needed a place of refuge, a place to escape the Nazi murder machine, this country was mostly closed to them. Because unlike the generation of immigrants that came before them, like my family and maybe yours, the same group of people with the same lineage was now classified as illegal. As Jews, we are not fooled by today's toxic and sleazy rhetoric. The line between what is legal and illegal is not immutable. It is not set in stone. It is an arbitrary line created by human authorities. And we know it's arbitrary because for centuries that line was drawn across our backs. One day you're welcome, and the next day you're an outlaw. And make no mistake about it, the side of the line where you fall depends more often than not on what you look like and what language you speak. In today's government, a Muslim name or a Latino accent calls your humanity into question. But 30s and 40s, of course, when Jewish blood flowed in the streets of Europe, it was a Jewish name and a Yiddish accent that made you undesirable. Emanuel Seller made it his life's work to overturn the state-sanctioned cruelty of the Johnson-Reed Act, and in 1965, over 40 years after Johnson-Reed was passed, the U.S. Congress passed the Hart-Celler Act, named in part after Emanuel Seller. It abolished quotas based on national origin, stating, "No person shall be discriminated against in the issuance of an immigrant visa because of the person's race, sex, nationality, place of birth, or place of residence." And in 1965, standing at the foot of the Statue of Liberty as he signed the bill, President Lyndon Johnson said it would, quote, repair a very deep and painful flaw in the fabric of American justice. But I don't have to tell you, today, the forces of hate look to tear this fabric anew, to tear children from families, to tear parents from children, to tear students from their classrooms, and soldiers even from their battalions, to tear communities apart, house to house, neighbor from neighbor. For some of us, these neighbors exist as an abstraction. Farm worker in a field, a friendly face on a construction site, a restaurant worker we glimpse from behind a kitchen door, forgotten when the door swings closed. But when you and I, when we sing Mi Chamocha, the abstract becomes concrete because we remember our ancestors fleeing. They inhabit us, their desperate souls peering through our narrowed eyes into a world of cruelty. Will the promise of their redemption be fulfilled today? They wonder. The Torah's promise that this refugee people will itself love the refugee, love the immigrant, love the stranger the way it says 36 times in the Torah? The promise of Mi Chamocha, made again to those huddled masses all those years ago in a New York harbor, will we fulfill it? The promise of the mighty woman with a torch, crying with silent lips to the tired and the poor,
the tempest tossed, walking through the Red Sea, yearning to breathe free, walls of water on either side, the promise of the wilderness, the promise of Lady Liberty, lifting her lamp, beside the golden door. Will it be fulfilled? It is up to us. Mi Chamocha, the song of liberation, on the other side, page 79.
dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. It must be the one from the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Oh, those children all dressed in red.
God's gonna trouble the water.
They must be the children that Moses led.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Wade in the water.
Wade in the water.
Children, wade in the water.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Who are those children all dressed in white?
God's gonna trouble the water.
Well, they must be the children of the Israelites.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Come on and wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water.
God's gonna trouble the water.
God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
love and respect and honor the immigrant, the stranger, the refugee. We have some people in our community who don't need me to give any sermons about this because they live it and they make it happen. And I'm going to get out of the way as quick as I can because here's a guy who does this work and who's also on our board. And thank God for that, and we appreciate you so much. Peter Ispister.
Thank you, Reverend Mike. It's either a blessing or a curse to follow that amazing song, the core of the night, and then you got to listen to me. But I am honored to be invited, and I want to thank you all for being here on behalf of the board and the congregation, and for being in Zoom land. You could have been anywhere. Now, many of you might be learning now that it is customary for Rabbi Mike in a Saturday morning service to borrow from Rabbi Springsteen of New Jersey and ask us, is anyone alive out there? Well, it so happens that Rabbi Springsteen is davening at State Farm Arena this very night. And you could have, what? Yeah, well, so there's a point. So you could have been there with him for a cool $175. You could, or more. Well, Greg and I checked yesterday. You could also have spent the evening with John McCutcheon in Decatur at Eddie's Attic for a ticket price of $30, no more, no less. Don't think I didn't give both just a little bit of thought. But we must also remember the commentary of Rabbi Springsteen when we are confronted with this kind of situation. And in his musical Dvar Torah, The Land of Hope and Dreams, he counsels, our dreams will not be thwarted. So we at CBH had a little vision tonight, a dream, if you will, of raising lots of money for our shul in honor of Will Robertson. And so if you haven't given to that dream, we hope that you will. And perhaps you can bear the ticket price for either McCutcheon or Springsteen in mind when you decide what feels right to you. And there's the QR code and yada, yada, yada. But onward to why I was actually invited, because I work at the Southern Poverty Law Center with the Southeast Immigrant Freedom Initiative. And our project is, I think, the largest in the Southeast to provide free legal counsel to people in immigration and customs enforcement detention throughout Georgia and throughout Louisiana. And to answer the rabbi's question to me privately earlier this week, I felt drawn to the work on account of both my California heritage and my Jewish heritage, both the searing story of the infamous and ill-fated MS St. Louis and the Torah's repeated command to welcome the stranger. And while I have often sung my children the lines of Uthros Aleinu, which we're about to hear, I have never thought of them in terms particularly of my work, but it does seem important to do so. In our immigration detention and court system, all of the systemic racism, injustice, and egregiously bad medical care that we are familiar with in our criminal justice system is both replicated and exacerbated. There is no right to counsel for my clients, there are no juries, and the detention centers are not coincidentally concentrated far from urban centers and their families and the resources of nonprofit organizations. There are currently about 20,000 people in immigration detention in our country, many of them recent arrivals seeking protection. This is down from a Trump-era high of more than 50,000. More than 2 million people are awaiting resolution of their immigration court cases, more than ever before in our history. And while the cap on annual refugee admission to the United States has been raised back to a more normal historic level of 125,000, we only managed to bring in about 25,000 last year. Unfortunately, in my view anyway, getting refugee and asylee and immigrant protection right tends to be an equal opportunity bipartisan failure. And this is also important to think about, particularly in the South, where Georgia has the third most immigrant detainees of any state in the country, some of the largest detention centers in the country, and has also been among the fastest growing areas of Latino immigration and migration in our country in the last generation. To make this a little more specific, in the last few days and weeks, I and my colleagues have been working toward securing humanitarian protection for Rodi, a domestic violence and victim and gang violence widow from Honduras, Victor, who lived through the Liberian Civil War as a child, and most recently, just this week, Nu from Thailand, who has been here all his life after leaving a refugee camp as a child, and is now detained longer by ICE than he ever was in jail for his misdemeanor crime. May they all be able to lie down and rise up in peace, be they free or in detention, protected not only by the divine, but in whatever way we can, by all of us. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Peter, Yasher Koach, and thank you for your work. As we reflect on your words, we turn to Hashkivenu, a prayer for seeking divine protection. And I invite Shana Cohen to offer us this beautiful melody composed by Gayanne Guerin, our former CBH music director. You'll find the words on page 83, the second line, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us the canopy of your peace.
Ufros aleinu
Essential part of every service is our Amidah, our standing prayer. I'm going to invite you in a moment to rise in body or spirit. You are going to find it in your Siddur, in your prayer book on pages 90 to 107. It's your time. Whatever words come to you, the words of the Hebrew, the words of the English. And if there are no words, just remember that your breath is there. And I invite you to return to that. Feel that connecting you within your spirit to the spirit of the universe. Again, I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Some of us will be facing east toward the holy city of Jerusalem. Take as much time as you need, and you let us know that you've gotten to the end of your Amidah by being seated. Adonai sifatai tifach ufi agita hilatecha. Open my lips, beloved one, and let my mouth declare your praise.
Many's the time I've been mistaken, and many times confused. Yes, and I've often felt forsaken, and certainly misused. Oh, but I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm just weary to my bones. Still, you don't expect to be bright and bon vivant so far away from home, so far away from home. Oh, I don't know a soul who's not been battered. I don't have a friend who feels at ease. I don't know a dream that's not been shattered or driven to its knees. Oh, but it's all right, it's all right. We've lived so well, so long. Still, when I think of the road we're traveling on, I wonder what's gone wrong. I can't help it, I wonder what's gone wrong. And I dreamed I was dying. I dreamed that my soul rose unexpectedly, looking back down at me, smiled reassuringly. And I dreamed I was flying, and high up above my eyes could clearly see the Statue of Liberty sailing away to sea. And I dreamed I was flying. Now we come on the ship they call the Mayflower. We come on the ship that sailed the moon. We come in the age's most uncertain hour, and we sing an American tune. Oh, and it's all right. It's all right, it's all right. We can't be forever blessed. Still, tomorrow's gonna be another working day, and I'm trying to get some rest. That's all I'm trying, is to get some rest.
Occasionally I get gifts from people, and that's really sweet. And I got this amazing gift from this woman named Kim Goldsmith, the fantastic mezuzah that I'm still trying to figure out exactly where to put it. It's kind of big, right? But it's beautiful. But it's so perfect for you and from you, because where do we put mezuzahs? On doorways, where we enter, and where we remember our values. And you help people who have entered new doorways, and you live our values. And so I'm so excited that you're here to talk a little bit about what you've been doing with the amazing refugee committee of this synagogue, CBH.
Thank you. The upcoming Mishabera prayer, ask in someone's name, health to be restored, their strength to be revived, and complete healing of body and spirit. Being with the CBH family, the Mohammeds, we're seeing continuing healing in action. When we first met the Mohammed family last May, And it's a family of 7 children, 2 to 16, and 2 parents. They had, 6 months previously, fled the Taliban and had been initially in Saudi Arabia at a refugee camp, and then in a holding place in Texas before being moved to Atlanta to resettle their entire life and life plans. Can you imagine all that in 6 months with 7 children? Arriving in Atlanta, they were truly strangers in a strange land. They immediately became involved in the neighboring mosque, attending regular prayer and enrolling their kids in the religious program a few days in the week. Within a few months, they began addressing medical and dental issues, and they always have very, very enthusiastically jumped into learning English and our American ways and the very complicated systems, be they medical, benefits, just to name a couple. And they intentionally, very intentionally have built communities of other Afghans, refugees. They're always a family welcoming new ones into the city as they arrive, while they work very hard to build a bond with the 7 of us that visit them weekly. They always offer us tea, they usually offer us food, and more often than not, they want to stay and visit even longer than our allotted time. Healing is often a process taking broad actions and much persistence. Tonight, and going forward, when I prepare to say or sing the Mishabera and mention names in my heart and mind, I now broaden my mind's eye to the many components and time sometimes needing to heal, as we say. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete healing of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen.
So as Kim said, we are about to pray the Mishabera prayer. I invite you to hold close those folks in your world who are in need of healing and picture them in your mind. Maybe even close your eyes. Know that there are not always paths to cure, but there are always paths to healing. And I invite you to picture those folks who are close to you on that path. And what will it look like when they get to the other side? Know that your prayers matter to them and to this universe. We're going to chant 2 verses, 2 sections of this Mishabera, and we'll pause in between. I will read a list of names that I have up here, and then after I'm done, I invite you to say out loud the names of anybody you're holding close, whether you're here in this room or with us on Zoom.
This is call and response.
Mishabera,
Mishabera,
Avotenu,
Avotenu,
Makor HaChaim,
Makor HaChaim,
Leimotenu,
Leimotenu,
Hu Yevarech, Ve'yirafeh, Et HaCholim,
Et HaCholim,
Et HaCholim,
Et HaCholim,
El Narefan Allah, El Narefan Allah, El Narefan Allah,
Sheila Taylor, Marta Inez Castillejo, Lang Marsh, Sharon Miller, Jerry Falcon, Bob Schwartz, Hillary Bauer, Roseanne Glick, Ronnie Carlin, Loretta Noon, Bob Noon, Esther Myers, Aya Iwatani Weinroth, Tracy Stern Cox, Richard Adler, Richard Cohen, Jenny Williams Cohen, Sharon Miller, Rosalie Levy, Pepe Lurie, Naya Brown, Mona Lisa Schultz, Linda Staples, Amy Kraft, Naomi Stauber, Carla Caraballo, Sarah Griscom, Margie Osheroff, Talia Yehudit, Jeannie Heinzen, Nancy Gerber, Scott Gerber, Billy Nach, Ann Schley, Peter Bauer, Leslie Bauer, Malcolm Estroff, Steve Somers, Ellen Brendel, Sharon Kudner, Janet Harden, Naomi Bach, Susan Finelli, Bette Prestwood, Abby Drew, Shelley Kotliar, Jay Rosen, Diane Dexter, Teresa Prestwood, Don Tarter, Shirley Cornett, Hayden Namkung, Ben Barwick, Fran Shahar, Jessica Brown, Yiska Bat Talia, Teresa Barnett, Nusa Nakoin, Ben Esther, David Friedman, Sonny Caldwell, Benjamin Gittleson, Terry Pahacek, Elaine Harris, Marjorie Adler. The other names.
Mi Shebera, Avotenu, Kor HaChaim, Leimotenu, את החולים, את החולים, אל נא רפנה לה, אל נא רפנה לה, אל נא רפנה לה, אל נא רפנה
Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, healer of the sick. And we say amen. So when Will and I were putting together this service, we had this great option. Songs about refugees, songs about immigration. We had this song called Huddled Masses, who was written by, remind me?
Shana Taub.
Shana Taub. Yeah, and it's got these 3 verses where we're invited to think about 3 different refugees. One of them is Anne Frank. One of them is a modern refugee who is being tormented by this country. And one of them is Jesus. And we're like, well, we'll just change it to Moses. Yeah. But the amazing artist who created it said, no, that's not what you're going to do. And so what do we do? How do we have the Jew go up there and sing about Jesus, who is, seems like a fantastic fellow? There was always wine when Jesus came over, but not divine. So we were like, well, what if we found a Christian to sing it? Yes! And Melvin is, wow, what an amazing, to go with our other amazing, Ariella. And I will, just to be serious just for a little bit, there are some people who will be uncomfortable that we will have Jesus mentioned in the same song as Anne Frank. Maybe there'll be Jews who are uncomfortable with that. And maybe there'll be Christians who are upset that Anne Frank gets into a song about Jesus. And I'm reminded that this place of exaltation but also suffering called the heart shows up in every human being. And that those who try and cage the heart do it to human beings of every race and nation. I'm reminded that the awful shooting in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life Synagogue was carried out by a man who was upset that they were celebrating Refugee Shabbat. I'm reminded that the Nazis first learned about Zyklon B because it was used by the American government at the border with Mexico to delouse folks coming across. And the Nazis found out that it had some negative effects. I'm reminded that the word ghetto existed for Jews in Europe, and it exists in this country. I'm reminded that if we're going to get free, we're going to have to love each other across boundaries. And we're going to have to make space for the pain in each other's hearts. And to defy those people who say, your pain is worse than mine, and say, our pain is so deep together, and won't it be amazing when we get free together?
Was a little boy who dreamed of preaching the gospel truth. He lived in a country with the evil king who was killing all the youth. His family fled the country in search of freedom's flame. He was raised a refugee, and Jesus is his name. So give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses on your teeming shore, yearning to breathe free. Send them all to me. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses on your teeming shore. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. What I stand here for.
was a little girl who dreamed of being a writer. She lived in a country with an evil king who burned people who prayed like her. Her family tried to flee it to keep their kid alive, and was raised a refugee. Just her diary survived. So give me your tires, your poor, your huddled masses on your teeming shore, yearning to break free. Send them all to me. Give me your tires, your poor, your huddled masses on your teeming shore. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Remember what I stand here for.
Once was a young man who dreamed of earning his degree.
He lived in a country with an evil king who bombed his family. He flew to reach our border to start his life anew.
He's detained today at JFK. We didn't let him through. Oh, let him come through. Give me your tire, your boy, your huddled masses on your teeming shore, yearning to break free.
Send them all to me. Welcome all Muslims, Christians, Jews, and more. Every child in hate and war. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
And now forever,
I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Remember what I stand here for.
So this will be an opportunity to remind you that there's still time to register for our retreat, which is coming up beginning of March. The theme of the retreat is Aleinu, it's upon us. We've got work to do. That's what we find out when we get to the end of services, is that there's a world outside waiting for our love and our work. And so I'm going to invite you to rise in body or spirit, whatever way you're capable. Turn to page 121 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tzeit gedula liotzer breshit, shenatan lanu torat emet, b'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. And you may be seated.
So at this point in the Aleinu prayer, we often share a poem or a reading. But instead tonight, we offer a new piece that I've written, inspired by the words of our rabbi. He asked me to write this piece to lift up the idea of tikkun olam. You probably know this Hebrew phrase. It's often translated as repairing the world. And in our modern context, this means taking action for social justice. Well, tikkun olam comes from a phrase in the Aleinu prayer, that is, l'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai, which Rabbi Mike translates as to heal the world through the power of spirit. And that's the name of this new song, l'taken olam. I drew inspiration from a few different places for these lyrics. Rabbi Mike shared with me a beautiful and wrenching piece he wrote called It's On Us, describing this obligation for Jews throughout history. And of course, leading up to tonight's service, I've been thinking of folks seeking refuge and asylum, people who are trying to escape truly dire and hopeless circumstances. And finally, my writing of this song coincided with the horrible news of the killing of Tyree Nichols. My first exposure to this story was hearing the voice of his mother on NPR, sobbing when she described the condition she saw him in. It sometimes seems like our world is so very broken and shattered that it's hard to know where to even start with the repair. It can feel so impossible that we close off our hearts to the pain of even witnessing these horrors. But the concept of Tikkun Olam says that we must feel, we must act, and we must do something. We cannot let our fire die. We have to lift our lamps. As it's written in the Jewish text, Pirkei Avot, ours is not to complete the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. And this is a charge from our rabbi. Tikkun Olam is not just a pair of words. It's in the liturgy. It's the last paragraph of this prayer. It's a commandment, it's a mitzvah that we are obligated to continue the repair of our world and to make it just, free, and whole. So we sing tonight to help us remember that bringing justice and wholeness to the world is up to us, up to each of us, and up to all of us. And in Hebrew, it is up to us, translates to Aleinu. I hope this song moves you, and I invite you to join us in singing together, L'Taken Olam. They'll stand up in a minute. Been trying to tune all night, but things keep moving. I'll finish tuning before the onag, I promise.
L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. B'malchut Shaddai. Every time a mother cries, Aleinu. Every time our fire dies, Aleinu. The world is shattered into dust, Aleinu. And repairing it is up to us, Aleinu, Aleinu, Aleinu. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. B'malchut Shaddai. Broken and the beaten down, the homes where there's no hope around, Aleinu. If we open up our hearts to feel, Aleinu, then our spirit has the power to heal, Aleinu, Aleinu, Aleinu. Sing with us. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. One more time. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. Malchut Shaddai.
Coming this way. I'm sorry, need a minute. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו I invite you to find in your siddur or as an insert prayer for the end of hiding. And know that sometimes the people who are escaping or are running away are doing so because of brutal regimes that criminalize and brutalize just being us and being queer and being the holy, blessed creations that God made us. And something Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum used to say up in Congregation Bet Simchat Torah, where Rabbi Josh and I were both interns, she'd say, just being at a gay shul is an act of social justice, because we're here publicly saying that we're holy, and nothing can take that away from us. So thanks for doing that. And then don't think that that's all you have to do. But first of all, know that being who you are is a wonder and is a blessing and is a miracle. So please join me in the middle of the page. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves, to ourselves, and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not. The Jews who feel they must be alienated from their tradition and community to win larger acceptance. Both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender-identifying, or religious majority, creator of the universe. We ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Gesundheit. Think of the people who have come before us, people who have died at this time in years past, or have recently died and left an emptiness in our hearts. Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, be found on page 131. First, I invite you, if you are remembering a loved one, somebody who has recently died, or if it is the Yartzeit in Yiddish, the year time, the anniversary of their deaths, I invite you to rise and say those names out loud.
declare their not free.
Lillian Katzwich. Phoebe Slade. Isaac Talbert.
We'll invite the mourners among us to remain standing. You'll see on page 131 that the fourth line down is where it's our custom as a community to rise together. It's on page 130 where it says congregation. In memory of those who die every day, particularly on this Refugee Shabbat, from the arduous journeys that they take and sometimes from not being able to take those journeys. We also remember the people within the borders of this country who were forced to move from land that was their land, indigenous land. We remember the people who died coming to this country not because they were escaping, but because they were under lock and key and ruled by another. We remember, of course, those who die every day of war, of hate, of hunger, of abuse, of neglect, of uncured disease, improper health care. And those, as we always remember, who are killed al-Kadush Hashem, for the sanctification of God's name amongst the Jewish people. If it's your custom to do as we do, I invite you, when we get to that fourth line, to rise with us. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah Elma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute hayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv mru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach be'olam u'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtavah v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zecher tzadik livracha, the memory of our righteous ones, always for a blessing. We say amen. You may be seated. It is my distinct blessing, honor, and privilege to invite Madam President Lauren Levin to share with this community the holy business of CBH.
Welcome to our house of friends. I am so blessed to serve as president of this amazing congregation. It was really an incredible service tonight. Our installation was incredible. Our high holidays were incredible. And we are just an amazing group of people. I want to begin by thanking our greeter, Shelley Kotlier, and registration volunteer, Elisa Bauer. I want to also thank our incredible on-site staff, Abby Garcia, Haley Monette, Greg Lawrence, and Anquinetta Kennan. I want to thank our I want to wave to my friend Eric Robbins and say welcome, and his wife Anna. I want to say thanks to our Zoom host Billy Mizell, our facility staff on duty, Greg and Ryan, tonight's police officer on duty, Corey Wright, our service leader, Rabbi Mike, and my partner in crime.
Woo! You know it.
And Will Robertson and the CBH Chorus for tonight's beautiful music, and a special thanks. Excuse me.
Goodness.
I'm not done yet. I'm just getting started. I'll stay all night. Okay. A special thanks also to tonight's band, the CBH band. And also, I want to mention to our two incredible soloists tonight, both Melvin and Anthony, that there's an opening at Beit Havarim for a musical director, and I hope you'll keep us in mind in the future. This upcoming week, please join us for Shabbat morning services. Tomorrow morning will be on Zoom, February 4th at 9:30 a.m.
10
Meditation.
o'clock.
I'm sorry?
It's 10. Tomorrow is 10.
I'm sorry. Rabbi Mike needs his coffee in the morning.
Wow. I would start at 9:30, but
No,
I want you to
think
know it's 10.
Susan. It's probably Susan out
Amazing.
there in
We love
Zoom
Susan.
land who needs her coffee. Meditation and chant is online Monday, February 5th at 6:30. Torah study is every Tuesday at noon. Imbibing the Bible with Rabbi Mike is on Thursday, February 9th at 7 p.m. in person at a secret location in Decatur. And of course, Mindful Moments is every weekday morning at 8:45 a.m. and the 15-minute minyan is Sunday through Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. And please join us for the intergenerational Shabbat hike at Mason Mill Park at 10 a.m. on Saturday, February 11th. We have 3 exciting events I just want to plug before I turn the program over. The first is Rabbi Mike's course on reconstructing the Siddur, Journeys Through the Kol Hana Shema prayer book. That's the prayer book each one of you has at your seat. That starts February 15th. Now, some of you may know, during my first week of presidency, I had the honor of being part of Alcohol Gate. Basically, what happened is that we were going to serve alcohol at the rabbi's installation, and it became a bit of a discussion internally. Well, I invite all of you who'd like to continue this discussion to a program Thursday night, February 16th at 7 p.m. We're featuring Joel Dworkin, who's from the organization Hamza, helping Atlantans manage substance abuse. And then third, as Rabbi Mike has already mentioned, our CBH retreat at Ramat Daram, which will be March 3rd through 5th. The deadline to register is February 6th. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to invite the special Brad Davidoff up to deliver remarks about a very special person.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Rabbi Mike. Okay, guys, we're almost done. I swear to Hashem, we are almost done. So you may be looking at your program and wondering, what is he doing up there? There's no time slot for that guy. Well, this is the super secret item in tonight's Shabbat Shirah lineup. So secret, we couldn't even put it in the program, and that's due to a disgusting amount of humility. Not mine. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be a laugh line. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, some of you know, and some of you may not, that our very own Will Robertson is about to take a well-deserved vacation. Let's call it a Shabbatical. From his duties as interim music director, chorus director, tech wizard, and keeper of the spiritual core of CBH, our neshama, for the last year plus. Right? So the question is, how did it come to pass that this mensch from Houston found himself as our musical and liturgical Shimshon, our Samson, holding in place together by sheer force of will and talent? We've had a little turnover in the last year, my friends, or 2, am I right? 3 years, right? So who else was going to do it? So here's a little love and a little roast of Will Robertson. Look at him sitting there, uncomfortable as hell. How do you know he's uncomfortable? All I gotta do is look at his eyebrows. It's the only way you know what he's feeling. A very brief history of Will's evolution in CBH, and here are the bullet points. In the early 2000s, he joins the chorus as a bass, just so he can sit with his wife in the choir loft during high holidays, only reason. He joins the CBH band as a bass player. He is a technical assistant, arranger, composer, album producer multiple times, jumped to chorus director, jumped to interim music director, and soon to be Shabbatical taker. Honestly, the worst thing you could say about Will is that he's, well, disgusting. Ugh, right? Disgustingly talented, disgustingly creative, disgustingly organized, disgustingly technical, and disgustingly nice. Ugh. He's under some deluded impression that he has a mean side. He calls it Mean Will. When the chorus is getting close to a service or a performance, during crunch time, when the chorus is being a bit unruly, and he has literally 30 things that he's organizing simultaneously, he'll look off to the side so as to catch no one's eye in particular, raise his aforementioned eyebrows, and say to the chorus something like, okay. That's it. Okay. That's what he means by mean will. Disgusting, right? Ugh. And please don't let me start on his original creative musical gifts to CBH and the world, really. He's written some of the most beautiful and truly comforting liturgical and non-liturgical pieces in our repertoire. Sitting in the Dirt, Yikra'eni Mishaberach, Kol Neshama, Hareini, Ahavat Olam, Hold It High, and his brand new Litakein Olam, which you just heard. Those aren't all of his pieces, and I'm not even including the original music he created with other composers or the choral arrangements he's crafted from others' musical creations. He's disgustingly prolific. Ugh. Right? Okay, how about when the world locked down and Will, along with a little teeny bit of help from others, figured out a way for our chorus to continue rehearsing, connecting, and creating? If the words Jamulus and Band Lab mean anything to you, it's because you know that Will figured out a way for both Windows and Mac users alike to connect online, sing together in real time with almost no delay, very low jitter. It's a chorus joke. And even produce a full-blown music video of CBH's version of On the Day We Are Together Again. Check it out on YouTube. And have you checked out our space at La Vista? He researched and installed high-resolution Zoom YouTube video studio that has enabled hundreds of people from around the country to join us in our services. Disgusting, right? Say it with me. Oh! See? Will, brother, I have known you for a long time, but what the hell is your story? Friends, I haven't even told you about Will's other full-time life as a music producer and owner of Gallup Studios. That's just in time tonight. So, why did we have to make this little roast so secret? If Will had known about it, he would never have let us sing his praise. At his core, Will Robertson is a kind, loving, creative, giving, inspiring, and humble man. And we are oh so incredibly lucky to have him in our world. Will? Yes. Amen. Will, we wish you the best during this deserved but please brief Shabbatical. I love you, brother. We love you. Will Robertson.
You know, Brad, you left out that he was a 1989 East Texas voguing king. Did you know that? Yeah. After midnight. No, that's not true. Arik Epstein. What did I say? No, I didn't. My God. Arik Einstein really was a legendary Israeli artist. who wrote a song that we need now more than ever. Ani ve'ata nishana et ha'olam. I and you, nishana, will change et ha'olam, the world. And they said it before. It's been said plenty. It's very Israeli lyrics. They said it before. It doesn't matter. You and I will change the world. And that's how we're going to finish up tonight. And thanks. You all want to eat, but I just have to say, I'm just blown away. I wish I could watch me watching you, because I've been just the ability to work with Will. You know, I've done Shabbat Shirahs in the past, you know, and it's like, okay, Rabbi, show up and say this while we sing. And the fact that you were an artistic partner, and just what has come out of this part of the room is just blowing me away. So I'm going to stop and say thank you. I don't have enough words. We're going to change the world. It's been said before, it doesn't matter. Let's make it happen.
A million people in the streets tonight, illuminated by the traffic lights, holding their signs up high. Cameras rolling and the mics are on. Somebody shouting through a megaphone, a message amplified, that it's time to draw some light. If you believe that love is the key, lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. A message of peace and unity, lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. Lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. Do you remember when they took a stand, riding buses through Birmingham, wearing their marching shoes? And even when all that hatred flowed out the end of a fire hose, and they had so much to lose, they sang, we shall not be moved. If you believe you're just like me, lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. Bending the art toward dignity, lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. Lift it up, hold it high, hold it high. A more perfect union by and by, you and I. A more perfect union if we try. Townspeople all answered the call out in front of Independence Hall that day in early July. A man read from a document, the pushed back on the government. He held that parchment up high to the bright Philadelphia sky. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, Badlands. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't say Kiddush or Motzi. Where are we going for? Are we doing? Where in the? Haley's pointing that way. Okay, go that way.